Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I will be showing you how I completed this project that I have named Artist Vacation Journals. Now this is a spin-off of an idea I picked up watching a journaling video by Natasha from Treasure Books, and I took part of the inspiration from her and ran in my own direction in order to create this project that I'm sharing with you today. A lot of things have been kept whole, and that way the integrity of the project would stay in place, but the ideas have been shifted to fit what I would like to share with you guys today. With that, my friends, let's get started. To start the creation process, friends, I'm going to be using a piece of 12 by 12 pattern paper. Now, with all of our other videos and creations, you can substitute if you don't have pattern paper. But if you are going to be using pattern paper, I'll make a few suggestions as always. First, I would suggest that you start with a double-sided paper because we are not going to be lining the inside. Therefore, you may want some type of pattern on the inside of your sketchbook. I also would say I would probably aim for a non-directional pattern. Now in this case, my pattern is directional and my paper is one-sided, but I am trying to use up some pattern paper that I've had in backstash for quite a while. However, I did make sure to choose a piece that would be pretty decorative because the whole object of this particular sketchbook is that you would take it with you on vacation and hopefully fill it up while you're on vacation. So in essence, giving you a vacation journal. So I do want to kind of keep things decorative as far as the paper is concerned, so I can keep the actual add-on decorations to a minimum. That way when I take it on vacation, it could be used as a sketchbook / junk journal, putting stickers and all those different things on it. So let's just kind of dive in. First thing I want to do is remove the border. That way I'll have a 12 by 12 square piece of paper. From here, things get pretty easy. The very first thing I want to do is create the spine of my journal. Now, you do not have to create a spine. You can simply just fold your paper in half and use that as your spine because we won't be binding a lot of papers. I plan on using 5 full sheets, which will give me 20 pages in this sketchbook. But I actually want to create a spine, so I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing you would want to do is grab your scoring board. Make sure that the lip of the scoring board for the scoring side is turned up so that that stopper is in place. I've placed my pattern paper on my scoring board in the direction that it should go. And we will be adding a pocket to the inside of this. So if you're using a directional piece of paper, you definitely want to keep the direction of the pattern in mind so that when you fold your pocket to the inside, it'll actually be it'll actually be upside down. That way it's right side up on the front of the journal. Again, using a non-directional paper will help prevent having to worry about any of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my bone folder. I'll find the middle of my 12 by 12 piece of paper, which will be 6 inches. And then I'm going to score on either side of that 6-inch mark. So I will actually score this paper at 5 7/8 and then 6 1/8. And that is going to actually create a 1/4 inch spine down the middle of my paper. I'll turn it over on the back so you guys may be able to see that a little bit better. Now what I would want to do at this point is simply fold along my scores, making sure that my paper is even, increasing everything down. Now with my score marks creased, you will see that we have a 1/4 inch spine for our cover, our jacket. Really straightforward, really easy. Now the next thing I want to do is open my jacket, and I am going to score on 3 sides at 1/2 of an inch without scoring on the bottom because we're going to be using that to make the pocket for the inside. So I'll grab my scoring board and I'll score again at 1/2 inch on 3 sides except the bottom. Now, with my scores at a 1/2 inch on 3 sides, I'm simply going to go ahead and fold on my score marks and use my bone folder to burnish everything. Now, once you fold it along your score marks, your jacket will look something like this. You'll have 1/2 inch scores on the side, and you'll have a 1/4 inch seam down the middle for your spine. Now what we want to do is actually score in order to make the pocket that'll flip to the inside. Keeping in mind, we're doing all of this with one sheet of paper. Now for my pocket, I'm actually going to score at 2 3/8 of an inch, but you might have different score measurements based on how long the papers that you're going to be binding inside your vacation journal. So you will have to adjust based on what papers you're using and what size you're planning on making. But I scored at 2 3/8 of an inch to make my inside pocket. So let's go ahead and fold that as well. Okay, with that score made, you'll see what we have here. And that is all the scoring we're going to need to do in order to complete our jacket. If you turn it over on the back here, because I don't have a double-sided pattern paper, you can actually see all of my scores. The 1/4 inch seam we made or spine we made, the 1/2 inch that we scored on 3 sides, and the 2 3/8 of an inch that I scored on the bottom in order to make the pocket. Now it's time to do some cutting. So what we want to do is we want to remove this end where our score lines are, and that is going to help reduce bulk. We want to remove the middle section here, which is going to create the actual folded pockets. And then we want to remove the corners in the middle here, just so that we will have miter edges and everything will be neat, because we always want to try to make things look as professional as possible, although they're handmade. So I'll show you how to do one of these on camera, and then I will actually do the rest off camera and we will move on. Now, before I go ahead and remove everything, because we're going to be angling in and cutting here, here, as well as here. Now, oh, I'm sorry, and here as well. So for the bottom, where we're actually going to divide our pockets out, you want to cut out this little middle section. And I typically measure over about 1/2 inch to an inch from the score line, and then draw a line so I can make sure that I'm cutting my pockets even. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'll take a ruler, I'll line it up with the first score mark, and then I'll mark at 1 inch. I'll slide it over so it lines up with the second score mark, and I'll mark at 1 inch on this end. Now, what I'll do is I'll grab my ruler, and starting at the corner of where the score mark is, fold it into the pocket, I'll line it up and just draw a straight line down to that 1 inch mark I made. I'll do the same thing on the opposite side, down to the score mark I made. And now we'll just take scissors, cut along these lines, and cut out this entire section. Now for the removal of this piece, what I like to do is actually flip it over, fold in. That way you can just use your scissors and cut that piece off straight, or you can use a X-Acto knife or whatever you may be using to cut that off. Okay, with that piece removed, we can now go ahead and remove this end, the top left, the top middle, and the top right. Once you've done all of your cuts, you should have a jacket or a 12 by 12 piece of paper that looks like this. So what's going to happen is we're going to be folding these up to make the inside pockets, okay? We're going to be folding these flaps over, and what these flaps do is basically just add a little bit of reinforcement to both the top and the sides to help make the sketchbook, or should I say the journal, a little bit more sturdy, because we're not adding any type of pattern paper to the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first grab my ink, and I'm going to ink all of my edges so nothing looks like it's cut. Afterwards, we're going to come back and we're going to start gluing our jacket together. With our edges inked, we're going to go ahead and glue everything together so we can start to see the journal come into form. I'm going to be using Fabri-Tac by Beacon, which is a silicone-based glue. It's not water-based, so it's not going to warp the paper. However, you do not have to have this type of glue. You can use PVA glue, your school glue, your Elmer's glue. Just keep in mind that if you use a water-based glue, because we are using a paper product, you are going to want to put it under something heavy to give it time to dry and flatten out completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up just a little bit at this point as I go ahead and glue everything down. And here, friends, we have basically a completed jacket cover. This is what you would use to bind whatever papers you wanted to bind into them. Now, since I'm making a vacation journal, the next part of this video will go into the binding process where we will be using mixed media paper, because I want a paper inside my journal that will handle me gluing, doing writing and junk journaling on it, dry art products like color pencils, alcohol markers, wet art products like gouache, watercolor, inks, pen, pencil. So I'm definitely going to be using a mixed media paper so that I can use all those different types of things I just named inside my vacation journal whenever I should get ready to use it. Then, of course, we will be actually doing some decoration on the front, which we're going to keep really simple. The whole concept of this journal is to take it on vacation with you. So you would be sticking stickers to it that you come across, putting in tickets from events that you went to, maybe a screenshot or a picture of food, of a menu from a special restaurant that you attended. But the whole point is to just commemorate every single thing that you do on your vacation, including some artwork. So mixed media paper, in my opinion, is going to be the best for me to bind this with. Now, what I want to do before we jump into that part of the video, I am going to go ahead and place this under something heavy and let it lay flat and dry. Although I did not use a water-based glue, I still want to give it some compression and some time for the silicone-based glue to dry completely before I move on. Although, as you can see, there is no warping to my paper, so I could technically move on now. So I'll give this time to dry under something heavy, and then we'll move into the next part of the video where we're going to be doing the binding. Let's move on to binding our journal. Let's talk about the things that I have in front of me. So I have some eyelets here and a few tools, including a hammer. There is the signature I'm going to be binding into the jacket, which is 5 sheets of folded mixed media paper to make 20 pages. Of course, we have our jacket. I have embroidery floss and a needle sitting off to the side. This is what I'm going to be using to do the actual binding with. And I want to show you the direction we're heading in. So from the original video, there were some really nice touches that I really wanted to bring over into the creation of this one, including the eyelets used to reinforce the holes that the 3-hole pamphlet stitch is going to be sewn through, because we are going to be using the 3-hole pamphlet stitch method in order to combine the signature in the jacket. So let's just get started so you can see the direction we're going in. So the first thing you would do is take your jacket, and we need to figure out where we are putting the holes. With that being said, we also want something to poke holes with. Now I have an awl. You can use whatever type of pokey tool you have, but I want to try to find like the middle of my spine, keeping in mind that nothing is actually reinforcing that spine and it's just paper. That's the reason I thought that bringing the eyelets in was a really good touch, especially to help protect the spine and keep the sewing from ripping the actual pattern paper. Yeah, that was really smart. So here, what I've done is taken a just regular piece of paper, folded it in half, made sure that it was cut to be the length of my signature that I was going to be binding into the jacket. Folded it in half, hot dog way, and now then I folded it in half, hamburger way. Went down about an inch, folded it again, then unfolded, and wherever I had the cross marks was where I was going to put a point, and that's what I did in order to get equal distance for my signatures. Took this mark, and we are going to transfer it to the actual jacket. You would get it lined up the best you could. I always try to get it directly in the middle, and of course I'm just eyeing it at this point. And the signature is a bit shorter than the jacket, so you do have about an eighth of an inch on the bottom and an eighth of an inch on the top. I'm just gonna grab a pencil and following the points on my paper, mark the spot where I would wanna poke my hole. And then I would start out by poking my hole. So I'm gonna poke the hole in all three, 2 and 3. And the rest of this I'm gonna speed up. Now that the eyelets are safely set inside the spine in order to protect it, I will kind of show you guys that I hammered a little bit too hard on that top eyelet and it became misshapen just a little bit, but that kind of adds to the charm, I think. And it's not extremely noticeable, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Although I do like for things to be as perfect and profesh as possible, you can't control every single element every single time to your 100% satisfaction. So sometimes you have to learn to just go with it. With that said, next I want to work on actually cutting down the signature to make sure it is going to fit within the confines of my jacket. So basically, I'm gonna push all those papers together as tightly as I can. And then I'm going to measure, excuse me, just kind of put it up against the back of the spine there where the eyelets are, because they do push it out just a little bit. And I don't have to cut anything off the top or the bottom, but I do need to trim so that it doesn't overextend from the book. So I'm gonna go in about an eighth of an inch from the side. I'll move my jacket out of the way, and then I'm going to clip my papers together and then trim them down with an X-Acto knife. Now, if you are going to be using a blade, make sure you're using a really sharp blade, because it's going to help keep the cut straight and keep you from going off track. And I definitely suggest, if you're using a blade, to be sure to use a metal ruler. Now, basically what I'm going to do is use a T-square to make sure that my line is straight. I'm going to put down my metal ruler, and then I'm going to use the blade to trim off the excess. And here we have super clean, neat cut. And we should be able to fit that inside our jacket with no problem. Gorgeous. All right. I've already got my embroidery floss threaded through my embroidery needle. And now I need to grab my awl, and I'm going to be using the template in order to poke holes in the signature. So I'm just gonna grab the signature, get it all lined up, make sure everything is pushed in place, and then I'll go for the middle first, the top, then the bottom. Okay, I'll remove the template, and then we're gonna sew our signature in. And if you've never done a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, it's pretty simple. You'll start in the middle, going inside out, then go to the top hole from the outside, going in, and then you'll go through the bottom hole from the inside, going out. And I am making sure that I'm going through my eyelets. And now I will go through the middle again, this time from the outside in. And I'm going to try to go through the middle and make sure not to do what we call splitting the thread or sewing through that previous thread, because it can cause issues if you do. Okay, and let's just see here. Seems like something is stuck somewhere. There we go. I'll go ahead and remove the needle. Take a pair of scissors, cut off the excess thread. Now, what you choose to do with this is completely on you. First thing you want to do is move one thread to the opposite side. That way you've created a bridge, right? You're gonna pull it as tight as you would like to. And in this case, it's kind of easy because you know you have those eyelets, protecting things. And then you're just gonna tie it off. I tie mine off in a knot. You can tie yours off in a knot or a bow. You can, or whatever you choose to do. You can leave the strings hanging on the inside and put embellishments on the strings like beads and things just in case you want something. Whatever you decide to do, you can do. I'm just gonna chop it off here, and that is cool just like that. I'll go ahead and work my signature a little bit, make sure my book is good. It is. Let's close it. Looking at the back and at the front, there, my friends, is our travel journal, right? Everything is gonna open nicely. Everything will lay flat. 20 pages, which is plenty of pages to use to do vacation creation with. And it is a mixed media paper, so you can do all types of both wet and dry media on it. So now the only thing left to do at this point, friends, is to decorate it. So for my decorations, I've chosen really simple, straightforward things because I do want the journal left for whomever purchases it to really be able to add all those different elements of their vacation that is special to them to it. So keeping it simple, I'm going to be adding on one of these pre-made sort of like bookmark labels. I have some transparent stickers here, a flower that I'm going to put in the corner. And then I'm actually going to be making my little gold trim embellishments out of a leftover piece of cardstock that I just take a hole punch and punch out the area that I want. And then I'm going to use that to glue down as embellishments on top. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you run off and decorate yours. I'm going to run off and decorate my cover. And then we're going to meet back up here to do a flip through of all of the vacation journals that I have made in hopes that it's going to give you inspiration to make your own. And here, friends, is my version of the artist vacation journal. I think it is so cute. I love the fact that you can just take one piece of decorative pattern paper and turn it into an entire journal. Not too much work or thought into it. As you guys can see, I did put a sort of book plate sticker here. Then I just put a see-through flower. Use my hole punch to punch out some gold trimming off of some scrap pattern paper that I had to put there. Of course, we have our protected 3-hole pamphlet stitch binding. On the inside, you're going to have pockets on both the front and the back cover. That way you can store your tickets, your programs, your hotel key card, your pictures, meant to go menus, whatever it is that you pick up throughout your vacation that you may want to keep. You can store it in the front and the back, or you can actually adhere it throughout the different pages of your journal, because this is more of a kind of sketchbook junk journal style journal here. So yeah, you can collect all your different things, and of course you have your 20 pages of mixed media paper, which is going to allow you to use graphite or pen, water soluble paints, pencils, pastels, markers, crayons, color pencils. You can even use alcohol markers in it. I mean, it's going to bleed through the paper, but you can put something on the back and still use something back to protect the next page, and then still use alcohol markers. I mean, it's a mixed media paper. You could even use oil pastels if that's what you choose to do, as long as you put something down to protect what's in your book. So many different ways you can go. That is why I wanted to take this particular idea in this direction. And outside of the one we made in today's video, I did make 2 additional artist vacation journals, and they all look pretty much the same. I just used different pattern papers, so they'll have a different feel. They all have the same embellishment, sticker book plates, and some variation of a flower there in a corner. And I'm just showing you how you can like mass make these and make them look different, right? Of course, they all have the protected 3-hole pamphlet stitch binding. On the inside of the second one, you're gonna get the same thing, a little sticker on both the front and the back, just to kind of get decorating the inside jumped off, and you can just build from there, right? And of course, you got the 100% handmade seals on the back. And then the third one, beautiful. I love this paper. On the inside, of course, again, flowers to build off of by your pocket, your paper, and then the seal also on the back. So there you have it, friends. My version of what turned out to be a version of a artistic or an artist vacation journal. Something you can grab, make, take on the go while you're on your vacation, and capture all those memories in the most artistic way possible. Just so you guys know, these will be available in the next upcoming Palm Street sale, so do keep your ears to the ground for that. With that said, if you saw, heard, picked up on, or found anything that you liked throughout the course of this video, friends, please don't forget to sprinkle a little love and give the video a thumbs up. Share the video. Sharing is caring, and maybe someone else out there would love to play off of this ideal. You can jump in the comment section. Let me know what you think, friends. Are you going to attempt one of these? If not, again, you can always wait on the Palm Street sale to see if you can get your hands on one of the ones that I made. Or you can just let me know what you think of the overall idea. Check the video description for all of the relevant links. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of the crafty projects we have coming up on the channel. And with that, I'll finally say for this video, alchemy complete. Remember, friends, just keep crafting.